Hey guys, this is Donnie with Standing Goats Rescue. I've got a letter a guy sent me, and he's had an encounter, or I guess several encounters, in one of the areas that I do a lot of my recording at. The same area where the video that I posted about the game warden and the two guys that were in the black uniform. Well, this guy he had an encounter out there, and he wrote it down and sent it to me. It's rather long, and he wanted to know if I would put it on the channel, if I would read it, and he says in here, let me get to it. I'm sorry, I should have had all this prepared. I just got it, and he's going through the same stuff that I did with the nightmares, and just it ruined my hunting season for a long time. And it was the comments that I got when a few people had put my encounters up on YouTube, and I got to read the comments, and that's what changed everything. And he says, I'm mainly wanting to read the comments on your YouTube, read the comments your YouTube followers post. Well, I'm just going to read it. I'm going to read what he wrote on here. I'm going to have to get my glasses. The writing's really small, and I don't know if you guys make sure his name's not on this page. He doesn't want his name out there. He's been getting bullied a lot. In the area that he's from, I mean, I'll just give you a quick glance. I mean, you can see the writing. It's messy. It's not as bad as mine, but it's messy. And I did read it already. Some of the words I'm not so sure about. Got to get my old people glasses. There we go. All right, I'm going to read what he wrote. And this is the area that I had the encounter with the game warden and the two guys in the black uniforms. Same area. I've been having tons of encounters up there. And he doesn't put my name on it. He starts off to Standing Goats Rescue. He says, I recently found your channel on YouTube while searching for videos on an animal that I almost bumped into while hunting. After watching your videos, I realized that one of the locations that you have been getting evidence at is the exact same area that I had that experience. This is at the I'm not gonna say what area this is, because I do go there often and I hunt there, and I depend on what game we get. It's a small area. I don't want a lot of people showing up there and ruining the hunting area. I don't have many places to hunt anymore. But this is at that particular area. Am I correct? Yes, you are correct. That is the right area. And I don't know this fella. I haven't met him yet. It says, before I tell you this story about my experience, please promise that you will not give my name, as I have been bullied extensively over this event. I'm hoping that by sharing this with you, that you might consider reading my experience on your channel. I believe that it would help me to cope with what happened to me, because I listened to the encounters you had in Marianna, and you said that it helped you tremendously when you shared it on another Bigfoot channel. I've only had one encounter in Marianna. If you're watching this, the man who sent this to me, I had one encounter in Marianna, and it was a bad encounter. It was the worst one that I've ever had. And he says, I haven't been back in the woods since this happened over 3 years ago. I have nightmares continuously, and I see them in every shadow or corner that I pass. Please ask your viewers to comment and give me some advice on how I can get back to my old life. If you would, will you Also tell them that I am not going to respond to any comment because of some of the people that have bullied me are also viewers of your channel. I don't mean any disrespect to your viewers. I'm just at the end of the rope with these guys bullying. They almost pushed me over the edge, and it's hard enough to try to continue life after a face-to-face encounter with the giant caveman. Yes, you are 100% right. They are absolutely caveman looking. And here's what happened. During early archery season in 2017, I was hunting the north end of the road you called the Horseshoe. And you guys should be familiar with the area of the Horseshoe Road. I've got several videos on that road. Sorry, the turkeys are all over me. I walked down toward the springs about 100 yards to the east side of the larger spring head. I was in that deep palmetto, I think it says pocket. That area where he's talking about, there's a bunch of small springs, but the palmettos are huge in there. There's a lot of game, a lot of deer come through there, just a very heavy amount of deer. It's a fantastic hunting area, but it's so far back. I don't go that far. I won't go down in there because of what I've seen in there and what I've heard. Come on, Thomas, quit, buddy. Okay, I was in that deep palmetto pocket in a pop-up blind. I sat in a standard foldable camp chair. I got there late, too late for the morning hunt at around 10 a.m. I figured I would sit until dark, then followed the reflective markers out when I left. The first few hours were quiet, almost too quiet. Then around 3 o'clock p.m., I heard the light snapping of twigs, the sound that a couple of does make when they're approaching. Now let me just cut off just for a second. Now those markers that he's referring to, I put their reflective tape, and I got the reflective tape that the road crew uses when I was equipment operator for the city decades ago. They give me a roll that had gotten wet, and it's heavy duty, it lasts forever, and I wrapped them around the limbs coming out of that palmetto, that what he calls the pocket. We call it the ridge, but they're still in there. Some of them are actually grown into the tree, but you can shine a light and you can see them. They're extremely bright. Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to intervene. And he says, then around 3 o'clock p.m., I heard the light snapping of twigs, a sound that a couple of does make when they're approaching. I've got 3 vertical shooting windows in my blind. No windows in the rear, only a zipper door, which I keep closed. The cracking sound came from my right. I was sitting facing the creek, so the sounds came from the east. Then it started getting weird. Every sound of the swamp just vanished. Dead silence. My ears started ringing, then I got really dizzy, and within seconds I had an odor fill the blind that was worse than any stench I've ever smelled. My eyes were watering, my nostrils burned, and I could even taste it. I'm very familiar with bears and skunks, and this odor wasn't either. It was 100 times stronger. I was very nervous, not knowing what it was, but my nervousness got shattered when I heard a woman start screaming. At least that's what I thought it was. Then it went from an incredibly high-pitched scream to a thunderous growl / howl mix. It went from a high-pitched scream to a thunderous growl / howl mix. As soon as the scream howl stopped, something started crashing and stomping through the palmettos and headed directly towards me. Now this area he's talking about, these palmettos, some of them are 8 foot high. They're really just enormous palmettos, way over your head. And he said something was crashing, stomping through the palmettos and headed directly towards him. And it stopped literally 2 feet from the back of my blind. I was terrified that this thing was going to run over me and my blind, especially since I could feel the ground shake with every step. Even though my heartbeat was pounding in my ears, I could hear every breath this thing took, and it was deep and loud. It stood at the back of my blind for what seemed to be an eternity, but was probably about 30 minutes. It took a deep breath, and then it took a deep breath and never exhaled. After 15 minutes or so, it still did not exhale. Now it's dark outside, and this thing was still there, somewhere. I wanted nothing more than to be at my truck, but you know how far that is from the Palmetto Pocket to the gate. And it was dark, and I was alone with only my bow. That area he's talking about, he was almost a half a mile from where you park. You can't get any closer because there's a gate. They don't allow you to drive in there. Something a few years ago tore the gate down, and I think I showed that in one of the videos. The steel gate is the poles broke, everything's broke down, and it's the same gate. And I don't know if this creature broke the gate. I think somebody may have ran into it. And he says, I finally got up the courage to make a run for it, but I couldn't go out the door because whatever was behind my blind was still there. Even though I couldn't hear it, I could sense it. I removed my buck knife and I slowly slit the front of the blind until I had a large enough hole to slide through. I turned on my mag light and I scanned the trees, trying to find the reflectors. I finally spotted 2 of them about 30 yards to the right side. I had my bow in my left hand and my light and knife in my right. Then slipped out of the hole I cut. I moved toward the reflectors as fast as I could without actually running. Then I heard a whimpering sound from behind me and towards the blind. Then I made a bad mistake. I turned around and pointed the light towards it. I saw the same thing that you described. It was a caveman without a doubt. When the light hit his face, he stood there staring at me for a couple of seconds. Then he dropped down and started running like a dog, but so much faster. He ran past me about 50 yards and stopped, but I couldn't see him. It was as though he was invisible. It was a cat and mouse game like this all the way to the ditch by the gate, and I did not cross the walk plank. I jumped inside the ditch and crawled up the other side. He jumped over the ditch between me and my truck, and then he went silent. And this was a living nightmare for me. I could read the numbers on my license plate. I was that close, but I couldn't get to it because he was right there. I couldn't see him, and that's what made it so bad. I finally had enough and I broke out in a full run towards the truck. When I passed the point where he was at, he howled an ear-piercing scream at me, which caused me to trip, and I hit the gravel face first. I got up without skipping a beat and kept moving, and that's when something hit me in my lower back, causing me to fall again. I was screaming like a scared child, and I think that's why he let me go. I crawled as slow as I could move, and every couple of feet he would grunt like a wild pig, low and deep. I was only 10 feet from the truck, and this thing was literally beside me. I would crawl a few feet, and I would see his foot step beside me like he was walking a dog. That's creepy. I made it to the gate and crawled under it into the driver's door, but as soon as I stood up to open the door, he started shaking and banging on the gate. I swear I thought I was going to die that day. When I got home, I finally realized I lost my bow, my Maglite, as well as my buck knife out there. Please, if you find my belongings on one of your investigations out there, will you please return my buck knife? It was a gift from my father, who passed away almost 25 years ago. You can keep everything else. I'll never go back into the woods again. Thank you for what you're doing with your research and your goats. You're an amazing person, and I wish I could face my fears like you have. P.S. Please do not share my name or contact information. I will be looking at your channel daily, and I hope that you will consider putting this out for me. I mainly want to read the comments your YouTube followers post. I'm so grateful for them and you. I love what you always say, so I will now say it to you with heartfelt meaning. Thank you, my friend. I got goosebumps. I literally have got goosebumps. I haven't had a bad encounter like that, not up there. I've been run out, I've had things thrown at me. I got hit not too long ago, and I think it was an accident. It hit the tree and a piece flew off and hit me. But I'm going to fill you in on some of that. I know the area where he's talking about, and there is a blind down there. There's an old blind. I never went and checked it out. It's collapsed. It's sun faded, and it's just laying there. But when I go back up there, I'm going to go back to it, and I'm going to see if I can't unfold it and see if there's a slit in it. I'm not questioning you, the man who sent this in to me. I'm not doubting your experience at all. Please don't think that. But if I can find it and find where you cut it, then I'm going to post a video with an update, a reminder of what you encountered, what you went through up there. And I walked that path out. I put them reflectors there many years ago. It was after the third time I broke my back. I wasn't walking good at all. And so I set one area down there that I would walk to, and I put the markers so I could find my way out. And that was before I had any encounters with these guys. And so I would come out at dark. I'd go in at dark and come out at dark. I know that area well, too well. But I'm going to walk that path, and if I find your belongings, I'll return everything to you. If the blind's there, if I find it, it was there. I believe last year, maybe in the year before, I had a friend that went with me. We hunted up there together, because I'm not going to be in there after dark at all, especially not alone. And we came across it, I believe it was last year. But we didn't look through it, and it looked like there was some stuff in it. It could have been garbage, could have been an animal, it could have been anything. But if I find it again, I'll go through it, and if there's any belongings in it that are any good, I'll recover everything, and I have your contact information, and I'll get up with you and we'll return everything, what we can find. I have no need for none of it. I'm not capable of drawing a bow back anymore. But that ditch he's talking about, that he didn't cross the walk plank, that he went through the ditch, that ditch is nasty. There's a lot of snakes in that ditch, moccasins. It's probably 4 foot wide, 5 foot wide at the water. It's really steep. It's nasty. I would never cross it. Well, in a situation like that, I probably would. No, Roscoe, sorry. Roscoe's trying to mess with the camera. Hey, buddy. But that area he's talking about, the palmettos back there are huge. They are absolutely just enormous. One palmetto leaf is about the size of the hood of a typical family car. They're large, 4 or 5 foot long, 2.5, 3 foot wide. They're really big leaves. In that area, that's where I had the one that was beaten on the tree, was right there. And where I seen what I thought was a deer, and it had like the face of a man, and he turned and looked at me. I believe it was a live stream I was doing when I got that, and I left. I got out of there. It's just, there's too much weird stuff that happens there. But I wanted to get this up real quick. We've been really busy. here at the rescue with the new babies, and Gail and Nestor are doing fantastic. Gail has got a little infection going in the incision, and Kim just done a treatment on her, so she'll be fine. But guys, we should have a little bit of downtime here, probably Tuesday, and if the weather's good, I'm gonna try to go back up there. They closed the area to where I can't get in there because of this corona nonsense. I don't know why they would close that. It's not a park, it's not a state park, it's just public land. It's state-owned land. But I want to get up there and do some walking. When we passed by there, they burned all the underbrush again, and they just burned it a year and a half ago. And usually they burn it about 10 to 12 years. They burn it, and they burn it again. And it's odd, very unusual. I don't know why they're burning it. Belle's aggravating me. That's my girl. But anyhow, I just wanted to get that. I just got that today, and I wanted to get it out earlier. It came in the mail yesterday, but we were really busy and we didn't check the mail yesterday, and so we checked it today, and that's the reason I got it today. But if I hear anything else from him, or if you guys have any encounters like that you'd like to send me, you're more than welcome to. I don't mind reading them. I'm fascinated by hearing everybody else's encounters, and I know these things are real. I've experienced them, and it changes your life. It'll change it for the worse, I believe, in probably 99% of encounters. And these people that claim they've had multiple encounters, they've been chased, and they go out in the woods alone and all up through these dark places at night, is, in my opinion, that's a line of crap. If you run into one of these things, I promise you, you're not going to go out at night. You're not going to go out alone at night. It's not going to happen. Something that large, that when they look you in the eye, you feel the intelligence of them. Belle, settle down. But you know there's no outsmarting them. They're always one step ahead of you. Well, guys, y'all have a good evening. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being part of this community. And if y'all have any comments for him, he said he was not going to respond to the comments because the area where he lives is the same area where this location is at, and it's very small. The population is probably 500 people total. It's a very small area, and chances are pretty high that they're going to figure out who he is. You know, if he says the wrong thing in a response, they'll probably nail him. And if they're bullying him like that, I've dealt with some nonsense. I wasn't bullied. I'm not going to tolerate it from anybody. There's no sense in it. If you got to bully somebody, then, you know, that's a bad act, and it's going to come back on you. It's going to come back on you hard. But y'all have a good evening, a good night. God bless you all. And I will be up, hopefully we'll be up going live here soon, as soon as we can get out in one of these areas. But until then, you guys, y'all be safe. Have a wonderful what's left of the weekend. And have a good evening, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you. We're out.